What is happening? I want to personally welcome you to Wrestling 101 in Ring Psychology. This is Jared with the Inner Squared Circle, and I'm really happy that you're here because we're going to do something so important today, which is really dissect the fundamentals of pro wrestling and in ring psychology. And this is something new for the Inner Squared Circle because we're known for doing, really high level psychology, like the it factor and character development and television production and helping guys get more bookings and really believing in themselves confidently as stars. But one thing we haven't gone over too much in this group, in the Inner Squared Circle, is just down to basics in ring psychology. And I kind of did that on purpose. I did that on purpose because I took for granted that a lot of this stuff is just common sense. But here's the thing, though. There's something called the genius zone. And so what I mean is, for example, let's say you were really good at a specific skill. Let's say you were really, and I'm making this up, but let's say you were really good at fixing cars and that was your hobby. Like your hobby is fixing cars and you're great at it, but full time you work somewhere else. Well, because you're so good at fixing cars as a hobby, like you know everything about it, you start to believe it's just common sense. You go, oh, well, everybody knows that, right? So it's almost like the thing that you're really unique at, the thing that you're great at, because it's so easy to you, you think, well, my mom knows how to fix cars because I do. And you just kind of take for granted that everybody knows those same things. And that happens in wrestling too. Wrestlers are like, well, I'm a pretty good wrestler, so everybody must be too. I kind of had that same thing because I got exposed at a really young age in my wrestling career to some great trainers, people that taught me how to tell stories. But not only that, though, when I hit a plateau in my career, I got exposed to the next level of people that were working in WWE, who had been stars on TV, who would hire and fire for major companies. So I really got smartened up and I had some really unique experiences. I got to wrestle some legends and Hall of Famers and world champions at that level. And what I'm starting to realize is, if people are relatively new in the business, and especially depending on where they break in, they might not have had the opportunity to have some of these experiences. They might not understand this stuff yet. So what I want to do is I want to share with you some of my experience, some of what I know, really to get us all on the same page. And guys, I know my role. I know what I'm really good at. I'm good at psychology. I'm good at, presentation. There are other guys out there that could work circles around me in terms of in-ring work and technical holds and stuff like that. Dr. Tom Pritchard, there's all these different guys out there that could teach you really great in-ring stuff. So I'm not here to step on anybody's toes, and I don't want to name names because I'd leave somebody out, right? But just know there are guys out there that can teach you great in-ring stuff, but this is my contribution. Does that make sense? Cool. So this today is all about in-ring psychology. And I've been doing a lot of tape studies with independent talent lately, and this is how it's come about. There's a lot of things that I'm seeing in these tape studies that are really, really good. But there's a lot of things that I take for granted as common sense just because I've been exposed to them. But just because I've been exposed to them doesn't mean everybody else has been. So what this is meant to do is get everybody here on the Inner Squared Circle on the same page. Right? Because if we're all speaking the same language, whether it's on a coaching call or whether it's in the group or someone asks a question or whether we're in a group coaching or you're in a program or something like that, if we're all speaking the same language, we can make a lot more progress a lot more quickly because we're not having to, translate and be like, well, have you heard this before? Well, this is the first time I'm hearing that. I want to get everybody on the same page. Do you follow me here? Okay, awesome. So the main challenges I've seen, and I'll post the link to this, or if you'd like access to it, just hit me up. But what I've noticed is there's different levels to pro wrestling. There's, beginning, intermediate, advanced. There are TV stars. There are independent guys. Like there is a difference between a brand new wrestler and someone that's a seasoned veteran, right? But what I've noticed is there's a progression of this. There's levels. So think of it like high school. There's, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. Or even elementary school, middle school, high school, college, grad school. There's these levels. But when I was in the business specifically, I remember, at least in the early days, what we were trained to do was just kind of do elementary school over and over and over again for our entire career. That's what we were trained to do. I had to get smartened up out of that. So there's levels to your wrestling career. And we want to make sure we're constantly progressing up the levels long term. But what I'm finding is there certain challenges at different levels. Now, if you're brand new and you're running into some of these challenges, no big deal. Like, there's certain things that are normal, right? You wouldn't yell at a 5-month-old child, why are you not walking and talking and doing the dishes, right? That's a normal challenge for a child. But if the child's 20 years old and he's not walking or talking or doing the dishes, there's a challenge there, right? Does that make sense? So a lot of these challenges are normal when you're breaking in, but we want to make sure they don't remain challenges long term. You follow me? Okay, so what I'm noticing on some of these tape studies is level 1 is some of these guys don't really know the mechanics yet of how to put a match together. They have a good character, they have a good gimmick, they have some energy behind them, but mechanically speaking, like how to put the parts of a match together, they're just not sure what it looks like, and I don't think it's their fault necessarily. I think it could also have to do with where they broke in, who they got trained by, a lot of different factors. But we're gonna settle that today. We're gonna fix that. Number 2, level 2 challenges is you get the basics dialed in. You have been trained pretty decently, but on a scale of good, better to best, there's always another level. There's room for improvement, right? That was me for probably the first half of my career. I broke in, at first I was level 1, had no clue about the mechanics of a match, but I was pretty charismatic. But level 2, I had the basics dialed in. I was telling a good story, but there was room for improvement. There were small details I could have done to make it even better. And then so number 3 challenge is you're good in the ring, you're a good mechanic, you're a good hand, you might even have a good character, technically, but there's a difference between being an independent wrestler and being a superstar, isn't there? Like, you can tell, like, this guy is a really good independent talent, this guy's a star. There's a difference there, and so we want to be able to bridge that gap. So this here today is designed to go through all 3 of these levels. And we're gonna get into level 1, level 2, level 3, different things to look out for all of these in terms of in-ring psychology. But on all levels, what I found is there's an overdependence on the basic in-ring formula. There's an overdependence on the basic in-ring formula to the point where every match is kind of like the same. And because they're all the same, none of these matches necessarily stand out. So we'll talk about what I mean in a moment. And then finally, what I've noticed is a lot of wrestlers have not been exposed to working for production. They haven't been exposed to working for wrestling in a TV capacity. And that's one of those things where it's like a rite of passage. Once you figure out, like, oh, TV wrestling is different than local wrestling. Like, once you figure that out, like a light bulb goes off and you start to look at things really differently. And what I've noticed is every one of the people that I've worked with in a television capacity have then gone back onto the independent level and go, oh my God, I was a good wrestler, but now I'm a good worker. Now I understand this business a lot better. So I want to be able to share with you some things to look out for working for production as well. So we'll get into that. Now, an interesting thing happened. Wrestling, I feel, has gotten a lot more accessible over the years, hasn't it? Depending on where you break in, a guy that's been in the business for 2 years could technically, get a tax return, open up a wrestling school, call himself a trainer, and put some guys out there. Now, the challenge with that is when you get 16-year-old kids or 17-year-old kids or 18-year-olds that haven't been exposed to the wrestling business yet, and this is their first in. This is their first into the business, and they meet a guy and they go, I'm going to put you in the ring. Well, they don't know any better, right? And that's where they break in. So depending on where talent's breaking in, they're subject to what's close to them due to travel, right? Or the knowledge level between talent varies. I know for me, like, you could technically get trained by a really good, reputable trainer, but he might be really good at teaching you the basics. But because you're still, 17, 18, the guy that can get you to WWE somewhere is like 5 hours away, and that drive, because that's a difficult thing to do, right? So at a certain point in your career, it's kind of like you're subject to where you broke it. Does that make sense? And the other thing I found is a lot of guys that really know, that really understand this stuff, they're either signed to a major company already, or they're really difficult to access, or what I found is, remember I talked about the Genius Zone before, is they're so good at this, like they really understand this at a deep level, but they don't understand what they're doing, right? It's like, it's one thing to be really good at something, but it's another thing to explain, here's the A, B, C, D of exactly what I do. So if you're looking for mentorship, a lot of the guys that have known this stuff, like I said, they're either signed to a major company, they're already training people at a major company, they're already an agent somewhere, they're difficult to get access to, or they just can't put it into words. Like, I'm good because I got over, and they can't describe the steps. So this is my contribution. This is me leaving wrestling better than I found it, okay? If talent gets this wrong, here's the real challenge. If talent gets this wrong, what you're going to hear a lot of times is, you're really good, but something's missing. And that sucks because you're busting your butt and you're trying to make it, but you're getting the, hey, you're really good, but something's missing. And it might take you years of trial and error to make progress, rather than just, you could have otherwise just taken a couple months if you get this stuff right. So we want you to be seen not just as a good hand in the ring. Ultimately, long term, we want to have you be seen as a star, as somebody that's marketable, as someone that can be on the marquee. Okay? It is important to be good in the ring because you're in the pro wrestling business, but it's also important that you're marketable and you're seen as a star because it's also the sports entertainment business. You got to have both. Okay? Cool. So, if talent gets this right, though, if you get this right, you can be considered one of the best out there. You'll be considered great in the ring, but then you're also going to be considered one of the guys who, they just have that special something about themselves, okay? And it doesn't require much, okay? If you have a good grasp on the fundamentals, but then also understand these things we're going to talk about here today, this is going to get you from good to great in the ring real quickly, all right? So don't just take my word for it. I interviewed the former head of WWE Talent Developmental for my guys in the Inner Squared Circle and Double Your Bookings. And I want to share with you real quick the audio of what he had to say about scouting talent. And what I want you to do is I want to point out, notice what he says about who stood out at the tryout versus who got signed versus who kind of blended in with everybody else. Okay? So notice what he said about people that blended in with everybody else that he didn't look at, and notice who caught his eye and why that person gets signed. Okay? This is Mike Bucci. He's the former head of WWE Talent Development. He was right underneath John Laurinaitis, and he would make recommendations as to who would get hired. So I'm going to play that audio now.
I walked into the Chaotic Wrestling School, and it was one of my first seminars I did, and I saw a couple guys in the ring. I had to scout talent. When I got back that day, I talked to one individual who was there. We hired 3 guys that day. We were going to hire 3 guys. One of the kids I talked to, I pulled him aside. It turned out he'd only been wrestling for 1 year. 1 year. And when I went back to the offices and we were talking, we put the 3 guys on a table, and Johnny A said, which one of these 3 guys would you hire right now to put in the developmental system? And I pointed to his picture, and I said, that guy right there, Kofi Kingston. That's the guy I'd hire. How long he's been wrestling? I said, less than a year. What? I said, yeah, John, this guy's going to be a star. I was right.
What was it about Kofi that you said that's the guy? What was it about him at that second?
You know what this son of a bitch did? And I just saw him about 2 months ago. He came into town. We had lunch. This guy, they're all wrestling their matches. And when you see tryout matches, when an agent goes to a school, or when I would do seminars, and you were in these too, 90% of those matches, Jared, they'd all be the same. The guys come to the ring, they circle around, have a hey, they lock up, take a headlock, grab his arm, run a spot, boo, get back up, put him in an arm wringer, like shit like that, the same stuff. I think in Kofi's match, if I remember correctly, I think in the first 30 seconds, he locked up with the guy, and he put his hand, before he locked up with him, he put his hands up in the air like a fight stance, and he started going, whoa, 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 I was like, what the hell is he doing? And then he bumped this guy, and he hit the ropes, and he did this little wiggle, and he jumped in the air, and he hit this leg drop, and he goes, whoa, whoa, and clapped his hands together, and he started doing this Jamaican talk, and I was like, oh my God. So afterwards, when the match was over, and I pulled him, I couldn't take my eyes off him. And I said right to him, I said, dude, how long you been in the States for? And in a perfect English voice, he goes, I was born here. I go, well, what? You're not from Jamaica? He goes, no. I go, oh my God. I go, why did you come up with a Jamaican gimmick? You know what he said? oh, they never had a Jamaican before.
That's
Swear to
awesome.
God. And now the son of a bitch is printing money as a New Day, and he will be for a long time. And it couldn't happen to a better human being.
All right, so we're back now. First question is, what did you take away from that audio? What did you notice? This was a former head of WWE Developmental. He goes to a tryout camp, and he sees people that are all doing the same exact matches, and what stands out to him? Yeah, the guy doing something different. And what did he say about all the rest of the matches? Yeah, they all followed the same formula, the A, B, C, D, yay, boo, 3 spots back to the arm stuff. Okay? So notice real quick, what can you take away from what he said, and what are you starting to notice that the bigger companies are looking for? Okay? Just think of that to yourself. Comment in the section below. Love to hear what you're coming out with. But what did you take away from that segment of the interview? All right, so moving forward, let's check in today. What are you here for? And what do you want to take out of today? What are you here for, and what do you want to take out of today? And what do you feel you need the most work on? And comment in the section below. Like I said, we're going to talk about Pro Wrestling 101, Psychology 101, in-ring psychology. We're going to do a high-level overview of this. And if you guys want to get into this stuff deeper, let me know. We have, coaching and programs available, but I really want to be able to help you guys understand this today so we can all be on the same page and talk about it in the same manner. Does that make sense? So comment in the section below. What are you here for today? What do you want to take out of today the most? And what do you feel you need the most work on? And answer in the comment sections below. And then we'll move forward.